Hey, man, what are y'all doing? Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. All right, man, I appreciate everybody very much for stopping by. So I do got my guy, Jay Bruce, Nick. You know what? You asked me for this game like a long time ago. I know it's been a minute, but I got it for you right now, my guy. So fear not. So this is a request for a Carissa Yip game. And this is coming from the Cairns Cup. And this is Carissa Yip versus Humpy Koneru. This is round number 7. So all of my people in the Philippines, as always, maraming salamat. Also, from my video I posted yesterday, maraming salamat po sa nanonood ng aking my video. I appreciate everybody very much for watching my previous video. It's been a little while since I got that many views. And I know, Jay Bruce, I know you live in Hong Kong, so I will say shishi to you. Appreciate you very much. I mean, I know you know some Chinese, my guy. Anyways, man, if you guys are ready to go, let's take a look and see what we got for this game, son. All right, man, so we got E4, best by test. E5, knight goes to F3. We got knight to C6, bishop to B5. And this is the López. And this is one of the oldest known openings in chess, as far as like we have like chess writings. It is named after a Spanish priest back in the 1500s, Ruy López de Segura. Basically, I mean, the point is very straightforward. I mean, you want this pawn. This knight is protecting this pawn, so let's get rid of this knight and we can get this pawn, right? Exactly. But black doesn't usually just sit around and let that happen. We do see the move A6, and this is known as the Morphy defense of the Ruy López. And, I mean, it was played a lot before, Paul Morphy, but he did really popularize it, when he went on his winning spree in about 1857, 1858. For those of you that know your chess history. But anyways, we have a couple different options here. You can just simply retreat back, which is going to be by far the strongest. You can also go back to C4. Usually those two kind of like transpose into each other if black chooses to play B5. You also have the exchange variation. The exchange variation is very playable. It just kind of gives basically full equality to black. So there are some definite lines that are kind of scary. After bishop takes, pawn takes, you got the Alpin gambit here with H5, fishing pole. So that is definitely something that's kind of hard to meet. But we do see bishop to A4 in the game. What you're also trying to do is, what both players need to be doing is, developing their king side so they can get castle to get into safety. Because E4, usually are open games. So you're kind of trying to preoccupy black over here with kind of like, figuring out what to do with this bishop instead of developing their king side. So you're buying yourself some time. We do see knight to F6 and we got castles. Wait a minute. We got castles. So, I mean, we just going to not care about this pawn right here? Exactly. I mean, what's going on? Well, for those of you that might think knight takes E4 and then the knight skips off and lives happily ever after is absolutely incorrect. You are castled. This king is in the center of the board. You do have rook to E1 on the way coming, which is what we see in the game. We do see knight taking E4. We got rook going to E1, and white is going to be winning E5 by force. There really is no other options because right now this knight is hit, and that's the whole point. So after we see knight to C5 hitting the bishop, we got bishop taking C6, pawn taking C6, and then we do get our pawn back now. Knight takes E5. And you got a little bit of danger here on this E-file. And that's one of the main points about, like, basically when you play E4, you play bishop B5 or even bishop C4. Like, you kind of have some ideas, about, kind of having this pawn here, kind of sacrificing and getting some play. We do see bishop to E7 just plugging up that hole, covering the king up. We do see D4 because your knight doesn't need to be there. It's like a really nice spot. So the knight goes back to E6. We got bishop E3, making sure that our D4 pawn does not fall. We got castles by black. We got C4. And this is an important little point. I mean, you want to play knight C3, right? You can definitely play that, but I mean, going C4 first before you play knight to C3 is definitely preferable. So we do see that here. We got F6. The knight goes back down to F3. We got rook over to E8, and then we do finally have a knight to C3. And then we have knight to F8. So I want to point something out to you. This knight has gone on a crazy journey, though. It started here. It went here, went here, went here, came here, went here. This is like the knight's journey, the knight's tour game right here, man. It's like the knight immortal game. Anyways, we do see the move queen to B3. And I mean, we got a little bit of ticklings going on with the king. We also are basically trying to prevent this bishop from moving, right? We're tying down the bishop, correct? Wrong. Humpy says, bro, you're not tying my bishop down. I'll move it if I want to, bro. Exactly. So we do go ahead and take the pawn on b7. We got bishop taking f3, and then we had pawn taking f3. And, I mean, both sides pretty much have very similar structure. They got a lot of damage kind of in one area of the board. This is ideally not really where you want this damage, but, I mean, of course you know the computer. Triple zeros. There's nothing to be seen here. Everything is everything. So, yes, we do kind of have some worries about these right here. So, you got to, you know, be playing a specific way. But right now, queen taking c6 is a serious threat. So, we do see queen to d7, just making sure that we protect. We got the move d5, and then we do see the move bishop to d6. And I will say this. If you are not careful, if you are white, queen to h3 is looking mighty nice down here. And then you got a little bit something going on. So what we actually see in the game is a novelty, and that is knight to e4. Now, I just got done telling you guys a second ago that queen to h3 is definitely something you got to be paying attention to because you got a lot going on. We will go into that variation in a second. The only other game that we've seen in this position, there's one other game in the database from 2010, and that person did go c5, which the computer's like, hey, man, that's a terrible move. But, I mean, I feel like it kind of makes some sense. I mean, you know, the bishop's going to move, yeah, but, I mean, you know, like, you're at least recognizing that you got queen to h3, and that's a severe threat. So, let's just go ahead and say that white is like, hey, I don't know nothing about any of that. I'm not an international master. Like, let me just be like, you know what? I can't see what's going on. And let's just say that they play a3. Just a super lazy move. We're just playing this move to demonstrate. You would be looking at queen to h3. And if you fell further asleep and were like, hey, man, I don't really still know what's going on. You got the move a4. You would be looking at a really, really nice mating pattern that is very common. Used it so many times myself, so it's really nice to be aware of. You would be looking at bishop takes h2 check first. The king would slide over to h1, only move. You would be looking at bishop going back to g3 with the discovered check. You can't take the bishop on g3 because you're in check. So we do see king going to g1. We got queen down to h2 with check. King slides over to h1. Now, this is all forced. The only thing you do have to be paying attention to in this specific situation is that the bishop on e3 does hold f2. So what do? Exclams! Rook takes e3, and there is absolutely nothing that white is going to do to save themselves. So let's just play rook takes e3, and then you have queen to f2 with checkmate. So, like I said, that is a pattern that, you know, you would be really good to know. I've used it, I mean, many thousands and millions of times in my games. So it's definitely something that will come up. But going back to the game. Like I said, we did see knight to e4, and that is the novelty of the game. So it does force black to kind of make a decision of what they want to do. We do see bishop to e5 trying to still maintain this right here. We do see queen taking c6, attacking the queen. But we do see queen going to f5, trying to go after this pawn. You know, black kind of has to restore, you know, material equality, homie. So we do see knight down to g3 hitting the queen, but the queen is going to take on f3. And I mean, you know, you kind of had to do a little bit of damage control. So, I mean, this pawn is expendable. We do see bishop going to c5. And, I mean, I will say this. Both players are really kind of threading the needle with their moves. Like, they're basically like, you know what? They're making the absolute best moves for the position. So, both, I mean, it's like literally triple zeros across the board, man. But it will not stay that way, I promise you. We do see knight going to g6. We got rook up to e3 because why not hit the queen with a tempo? And we do see queen to g4. This is actually a pretty beneficial spot for the queen to be in. You are just kind of pinning things down. Trying to kind of maybe see if you can weasel your way into this position a little bit. It's a lot of threats. We do see the move d6. Now, what we're trying to do is create a pass c pawn where, like, let's say, like, pawn takes and then bishop takes and then, you know, stuff like this. And you got, like, double hits right here, all kinds of stuff. So you can create, like, you know, some serious threats and maybe a pass c pawn. But what ends up happening is we see queen taking c4 and then d7. And then we end up with a passed pawn. Yes, okay. Yeah, we end up with a passed pawn. So we got a d7 pawn. So we have a couple of different, you know, ideas that I'm going to mention to you. We do see rook e to d8. We got rook down to d1. Now, I think a lot of you guys out there, when you guys are, you know, trying to figure out, like, you know, how to get really good at chess and what should you focus on, what should you study, and everybody's always like, study end games. And you're like, well, if I can't make it to the end game, why am I studying end games, bro? Like, because I'm never going to get there, right? Well, that's not absolutely true. But I can kind of see your point. You do want to kind of open, you know, do some middle game and some opening stuff like that, you know, to kind of get yourself well balanced. But one thing I will say about end games, and I literally just told somebody about this earlier, one of the people that comment on my video. When you learn about end games, you pretty much learn the entirety of chess, like from to the beginning. So you pick up ideas in the end game that will apply even in, let's say, for example, this is like a late opening, early middle game position that we have right here. One of the end game concepts that you will learn is that you want to put your rook behind passed pawns. Another thing that you have as an idea is when you put a rook behind a passed pawn and it happens to reach the 7th rank, it basically means that the opponent basically has to choose a piece to kind of babysit and just block the pawn. And I mean, if that piece happens to be a rook, this is absolutely not where you want a rook to be at. You don't want a rook just sitting there basically jamming the square that the pawn would try to, you know, promote on. Because now you kind of have a situation where you're almost down a rook. This is a strong rook. This is a passive rook. So that's not really what you want. So that is an example of an in-game some in-game concepts that are showing themselves in the you know, middle game. Even sometimes they show themselves in the opening. So yes, learn in games. I actually have a book here that I suggested to the guy, Silman's Complete In-Game Course. If you start on some books, there's a lot of good books that you can choose from, but this is definitely one of the good books. Also, Chess for Dummies. I mean, don't take offense to it, but you know, it does kind of give you some good ideas and stuff in there. So yeah, those are definitely some good books. So kind of shout out to the book. But anyways, all right, going back to the game. We do see a rook A to B8 trying to drum up a little bit of, you know, some counterplay. We do see B3. And this is not only plugging things down, but this is hitting the queen. So where do you want to go? We move back to G4. And white is getting a slight advantage here. We do see the move, the crazy move, rook to D4. What? What is rook to D4, bro? Like, I mean, crazy. Like, you got these, I mean, rooks kind of sitting here on these dark squares. You're hitting the queen. What is the goal with this move? If you want to go ahead and pause the video and try to see what move black should play, go ahead and do so. Now, you know what? I forgot that I haven't even been using come on, bro. Okay. I forgot to put, no wonder it was so short. I didn't have the, what you call her going. I'll fix it like more later, but I didn't have the evaluation bar going. Yeah, okay. No wonder it was so, yeah. Anyways, okay. So it might look kind of like strange. You might think like, man, this is like really complicated. Like this must be a trick. It's actually really not a trick. This is what the computer calls a blunder. So the computer's like, hey man, this is just a blunder. Like, I don't know why you put your rook right there because the bishop can take, right? Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I will say this though. You kind of have to know what you're doing. Like in the position, like it's, you know, white is going to really be trying to weasel their way out. So if we go into this variation, this isn't what was played in the game, by the way. Bishop takes D4. If that is what you guessed, congratulations. Rook to E8 with check. And that is taking advantage of the fact that you can't take here because queen, and then this will take, and then queen, and then you got knight, and you got checkmate right there. So a bunch of Hikaru arrows for you. But we do see, you don't have to move the rooks. But we do see knight to F8. We got bishop taking D4. We got queen to D1 with check. Kind of like a little fancy way of getting the bishop back. King sides up. The queen takes here. We got queen to E6 with check. King goes to E8. We got queen to E7. And this really just forces the issue because, I mean, you know, you can't really, you know, do nothing else. You are threatening checkmate also with queen to takes F8. So we got rook taking, pawn taking, rook taking, and then rook taking, and everything is fairly even, but black is just up a pawn. So if you're able to calculate and see all of that, then you would be like, hey man, you know, I really can see what's going on here. So if you did guess bishop takes D4, congratulations. But Humpy was not buying it. I guess she calculated some crazy line and she was like, no, I don't like this. So she went ahead and just went knight to E7, which is an even worse blunder. You see that the bar shot way up over here. And yeah, man, that's not really where you want to be at. It might kind of seem like, hey, man, I'm getting a counterattack and stuff like that. But that is really not where we're at. And you'll see exactly why. Bishop takes E7. We got bishop taking D4. I mean, there's nothing really better to do. We got queen down to C4 with check. The king slides over to H8. We got bishop taking d8. We got queen to d1 with check, and then we have queen to f1. And it is in this position that Humpy Koneru resigns the game. And I know what you guys are thinking. Bro, there's too much action on the board, it seems, for you to just resign. Like, why would you resign, bro? Because, I mean, you're going to go here, right? You know, king or knight's going to take. You're going to get your piece back. Everything is everything, right? Absolutely not. That's not what we're going to be doing. If we take the absolute best line, now I'll remind you, this is +7 for white. I mean, you see the +6.7. Queen would take. Let's just say we take with the king. And you can take with either one of them. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't make a difference. Because the idea is still pretty much going to be the same. You got this bishop taking e3. Which kind of seems like, hey, man, everything is everything. Everything is equal. Everything is cool. No, it's not. Absolutely not. You have the most serious threat in the position, and that is bishop taking c7. The issue that you have now is not only is your bishop hanging right here, but you are going to be forcing this pawn to promotion, and the rook is going to have to give itself up to some kind of way. I mean, unless you want to play a game where you got a bishop and a rook versus a bishop, a queen, and a knight or something. Like, you're just not going to play that. So we would see probably something like rook a8. We would see pawn taking e3, and then we would see, like, I mean, they're literally, it doesn't matter what you do. The computer's throwing out all kinds of weird moves. Like, you're like, why would I play g5? Why would I play this over here? It's just weird. So you just play h6. You got the pawn promoting with queen, and then you have this right here. And this is easy work for an IM, man. Even if, let's say you get rid of all these pawns, and you got a bishop and knight checkmate situation, that is a very tough checkmate to actually learn. But once you grasp it, you just know what's going on. You guys know the W. You guys know using this bishop to force the king over here. And that is all she wrote, man. So, Malak, I see Carissa Yip in this one. So, I got you, my guy. I know it took me a little while, man, but I got you, man. I got you, man. So, I mean, that's a good tournament for Carissa Yip. So, we'll see what she can do in the future. You know, she's a pretty strong chess player, man. So, all right, man. I appreciate everybody very much for stopping by. Meron salamat and shishi. If you're coming from China somewhere, and I'm going to see you guys next time.